There's something strange about cars. They don't speak. They don't move unless we ask them to. And yet somehow, they remember our lives better than we do. Every scratch tells a story. Every worn seat carries laughter, arguments, silence, and sometimes goodbye. This isn't just a story about a car. It's a story about time, about choices, and about how sometimes the longest journeys happen without ever leaving the driver's seat. This story begins on a rainy evening with a man who almost sold his past. Arjun Mehta sat behind the wheel, watching raindrops race each other across the windshield. The car idled quietly beneath him, a deep, familiar vibration he had known for nearly 15 years. A faded silver sedan. Nothing special to anyone else, but to him, it was everything. The buyer was arriving in 20 minutes. He glanced around the cabin, the cracked leather steering wheel, the tiny coffee stain near the gear lever, a parking ticket still stuck in the sun visor from 2013. He smiled faintly. Funny how memories hide in small places. He turned the key slightly. Not enough to start driving, just enough to hear the engine breathe. The sound felt like an old friend clearing its throat, and suddenly, he wasn't in the present anymore. 15 years earlier, Arjun was 26, broke, ambitious, and convinced life was about to begin. He couldn't really afford the car, but he bought it anyway, because sometimes adulthood starts with a reckless decision. He remembered gripping the steering wheel for the first time, the smell of new upholstery, the untouched dashboard, the terrifying realization that this machine now depended entirely on him. He drove slowly that first day. Too slowly. Honking cars passed him, irritated. But he didn't care, because for the first time in his life, he felt in control of where he was going. That night, he parked outside his small apartment and sat inside long after the engine stopped, just listening to silence, dreaming about a future that hadn't happened yet. 3 months later, someone else sat in the passenger seat, Maya. She criticized his music taste within 5 minutes, changed the radio station without asking, and laughed loudly at how protective he was about keeping the car clean. Their first long drive happened by accident. A wrong turn turned into a highway. The highway turned into a conversation. And the conversation turned into something neither of them planned. They talked about fears, childhood dreams, and places they wanted to escape to someday. The car became their moving world. Arguments happened here. Apologies happened here. Late-night confessions happened here. Somewhere between traffic signals and roadside tea stalls, they fell in love. Every relationship has one moment that defines it. For them, it was a road trip. No bookings, no plans, just fuel, music, an endless road ahead. They drove through the night, windows down, cold air rushing in. At 3 a.m., somewhere between cities, the world felt suspended, like time had forgotten them. Maya rested her head against the window and said softly, "Do you think places remember us after we leave?" Arjun laughed back then, but now, years later, he understood the question. Because that car remembered everything. Every song they sang badly, every roadside stop, every promise whispered when the future felt certain. At sunrise, parked on a hilltop, he almost proposed. Almost. And sometimes life changes because of the things we almost do. The fights didn't start suddenly. They arrived slowly, like small cracks in glass. Work schedules grew longer, phone calls shorter, road trips disappeared. One evening, Maya sat quietly in the passenger seat. No music played, no conversation filled the air, just the hum of the engine. She said she felt stuck. He said he was trying his best. Neither of them was wrong, and somehow that made it worse. The last drive together ended without drama. No shouting, no tears, just a quiet goodbye outside her apartment. The passenger door closed, and for the first time, the car felt unbearably empty. Life moved forward the way it always does, relentlessly. Arjun changed jobs, moved apartments, grew older without noticing what had happened. The car stayed. It carried groceries, late-night work stress, solo drives where thoughts became louder than music. Sometimes he would catch himself speaking out loud while driving, as if someone still sat beside him. The seat slowly faded under sunlight. The engine grew rougher, but it never failed him, not once. And maybe that's why letting go felt impossible. One stormy night, years after Maya left, Arjun drove without destination. Rain blurred the city lights into streaks of colour. He pulled over near an empty overlook, the same hilltop from the road trip. He hadn't realised he'd driven there. Memory had guided him. He turned off the engine. Silence filled the car. And for the first time, he understood something. The car wasn't holding him in the past. He was. The memories weren't trapped inside metal and glass. They lived inside him. The car had simply been a witness, a quiet companion through every version of himself. The hopeful young man, the man in love, the man who learned how to let go. And suddenly, selling it didn't feel like losing memories. It felt like honouring them. A knock on the window pulled him back. The buyer had arrived. Young, excited, nervous, exactly how Arjun once looked. The man asked practical questions: mileage, service history, fuel efficiency. Arjun answered calmly, then handed over the keys. But before stepping away, he paused, ran his hand gently across the roof. A silent thank you. The engine started again under new ownership. Same sound, different life. And as the car drove away, Arjun didn't feel sadness, only a strange, peaceful gratitude. We think we own cars, but maybe, for a little while, they own pieces of our stories. They carry our beginnings. They witness our endings. And sometimes they teach us when it's time to move forward. Because journeys aren't measured by distance. They're measured by who we become along the way. And somewhere out there, on another road, with another driver, the car continues collecting memories, just like life does. Engine running, road open, story unfinished.